I've been teaching for 6 days now. It'll be 7 tomorrow. And I'm seeing like vast improvement with my kids. Like, I have kids that were not putting sentences together on the first day that are now starting to understand the idea of how we construct a paragraph. And it's amazing with just getting them engaged, we'll force them to do. Like, they're killing each other for dojo points. They're out to get as much out of my class as possible. We have fun. They raise their hands. All my kids read. Nobody like laughs at each other. We're having like a really successful classroom culture, and it is insane to see just how much that drives the rest of the learning.
One thing that I can really think of now is providing a lot of practice time during the elaborate part of the lesson to students where they can really be the ones who engage themselves in the learning and drive themselves in their learning and instruction. As a first year teacher, I'm trying to do my job, but not being able to transfer down that trust and level of responsibility to the students.
Some of the major successes that I've seen in the classroom is just the behavior management. So really started out kind of rough, as I mentioned in my last video, but just reasserting yourself and just making sure that you're consistent with what you're doing and just having a really strong presence and a really strong voice that really helps to maintain that classroom behavior. And then you can really get down to the nitty-gritty of learning and creating those environments where kids thrive. But also, being authentic. Like, that's been one of my greatest successes, I would say, because at first I was really like uptight in the classroom. I wasn't myself, I was in this power position, and like I really was just like this week able to open up and able to be myself and to be relaxed.
I guess my area of growth and my area of success are the same thing, that it's incredibly difficult to pay attention to 15 students at one time. And that's only 15 students. It'll be many more during the year. So that was something I was surprised by, especially because it's very hard to give students one-on-one help when you have a lot of students who need one-on-one help and you have other students that need to know their teacher is walking. So that was one of my first things, that I was not aware that children will do Lord knows what whenever you turn your back.
So in general, I had trouble being myself in the classroom, and I think that is the most important. You have to be yourself. If you're not yourself, then we've been told your students are going to see that, and they're not going to want to be engaged. They're not going to want to pay attention to you. They're not going to listen. But I've been finding it. It's there, and I know when I get to Region, I have a lot of ideas from all this reflection that I've been having, from the help from my CMA, Andrew Davis, and then from the best school in Houston, Sugar Grove Academy.
The first thing I need to do is to basically check myself when I'm tripping. And what do I mean by that? What I mean is I need to separate my own self as an 8th grader from my kids, because as much as I want my kids to, every teacher I think wants their kids to be as like they were as a kid, that's not the reality of things. So let me be specific. I think as a learner, I was a bit of an autodidactic. I could pretty much teach myself anything, and you could just give me it and I would just put it down and do it. Great, I want kids to achieve that eventually, but right now I need to meet them where they're at, and what they need right now is clear, direct guidance, and they need structure as well. So let me be specific. I'm thinking about graphic organizers. So I teach reading, and when we're focusing on our ideas and our evidence and our answers, what they need is basically boxes that are separate. They need one for reasoning, one for evidence, and one for explanation. And so when they're reading, they can just put all that information into the right box. And at first I was reluctant to use them. I was like, come on, do it yourself. It's easy enough. But then I realized, wait, what's easy for me might not be easy for my kids. And yeah, we'll get there eventually. We'll become independent thinkers eventually. But first, it's my job, right, to meet them where they're at. So
I need to make sure that I don't forget what it feels like to be a student. And that's something that I've been trying to do as much as possible. I look back at my middle school days and I think to myself, is this something that I would have liked? Is this a way that I would have learned? and it's helped. And I'm sure that that's the right way of thinking, and it'll be very effective. At least my teaching will be as effective as possible.
And so that's something I've gotten a lot better at, is asking better questions and asking kids that like teacher, Miss Snow, how do you do this? And I'm not going to tell them exactly how to do it. I'm going to ask them a question that makes them figure out something. And so asking better questions, I have a lot more moments where kids are saying, like I get it, and they're so pumped. And so that's the most satisfying thing, is to be able to like not just hand out answers, but to encourage kids to like take control of their own learning.
I'm starting to see that, yeah, we have a lot of work cut out for us, and yes, these kids are almost detrimentally behind, but it's not impossible. It really isn't. It's going to be hard, and it's definitely an uphill battle, but it's not impossible.
Personally, the biggest area where I need improvement is just being able to break things down for students. You know, I'm working with 8th graders this summer, and just really understanding where they're at and how I can scaffold my questions to better help them understand. So, you know, it's starting with that why question, starting with that deeper thinking question, and then really working your way backwards when lesson planning and writing down those questions that are going to help students build up to that big why question and be able to answer some of these more critical thinking type questions. And that can be really difficult, because coming off of like a college education, whether it's that you just graduated last month or you graduated a year or two or whatever, like you have all these different like ideas and opinions, and you were expected to think critically, and you've seen and done a lot of things that have shaped your mindsets, and it's really hard to like take a step back and think about where you were in the 8th grade or in the 3rd grade or even as a sophomore in high school, and just kind of shape the material and your questions around the level of understanding that they currently have, but also maintaining that level of rigor so that you can still push them and enrich them and really make it a fantastic learning experience.
My overall thoughts about Institute, yeah, it's hard, you know, but it's enjoyably hard, I would say. I like challenges and I like rising to them, and one thing I've been really trying to keep at the core of my life in Institute is a work-life balance. It was Drake who said, as soon as I stop having fun with it, I'll be done with it, and I'm not trying to stop having fun with it because I'm not trying to be done with it, you know, for 3 weeks in or whatever. So I'm trying to hit the gym, hit the basketball court, and spend quality time with the many great people here. And that's what I'm doing to keep myself centered.